Okay, I want to tell you thank you for participating in the Drawing to Learn initiative. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to reflect with me. I want to focus on how the drawing and explanation routine has gone as a team.
Okay.
What we've learned, how we've grown, and what we can improve moving forward. So, how do you feel like you contributed to our team during this process?
I think one thing was just trying to think about how you brought together the people that were going to be moving to a new campus, and so I'm kind of using this as an opportunity to think about how are we going to bring this with us, and how can we use this next year with a different audience of students. So I'm really focused on trying to maintain all the materials in like a Google folder. I want us to kind of bring it together. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just kind of all, bringing the wheel together and sharing it. And just thinking about how we can really start pushing this idea forward to next year as well.
Perfect. Okay, and so that's one way you supported the team, right? Because you created some materials, and we're putting those in that Google file. Great. So, how has your role in the team changed since we started this work? Like, I guess you kind of answered that already. I had a list of questions, but do you have anything else to add about that?
Well, I think I'm approaching PLCs a little bit differently now, just because we've always been so focused on math and science in my group. I'm trying to make sure that we're spending a little bit of time also just thinking about science.
Oh, did you mean math and ELA?
Oh, sorry, math and ELA.
Yeah,
yes.
because you are a gen ed
Yes,
teacher.
so like being self-contained, our big focus, especially right now, is just on reading, writing, and math. And I feel like science kind of always gets kind of, pushed to the edge, like social studies. So I think taking this time to actually have a, PD on science and focusing on science, I'm trying to push that out a little bit more in my PLC meetings, where that's just something that over the years has kind of been neglected, sadly, because it's not tested, it's a very short amount of time. So, we tend to kind of push it off, whereas now I'm just trying to get us all to think about how can we incorporate, this great little activity that we just learned, and go forward and use it because we all enjoyed it.
Cool. And so tell me what impact that has had on your instruction, your class instruction.
I think it's made my science a little bit more interesting, actually, because I was kind of stuck in a rut, just sort of doing the same, again, spending more time feeling like I just want to hit on the vocabulary and the subject matter, and not really actually assessing my students to see if they were fully grasping it. And they've enjoyed doing the drawings and the labels and like explaining it as, the student exemplars, having them come up and sort of, share with the class. So it's getting me to just kind of rethink my science routine and kind of break that. I almost feel like I got in kind of a bad habit of just, doing science almost in kind of a robotic, let's take notes, let's watch a video, let's read what the book says. And it was very eye-opening when you first kind of had us test out, those labels and stuff that we thought students understood. When we actually had them draw it out those first couple of times, it was like, oh wow, here's a big red flag in our teaching that we can easily correct with a little bit of hands-on work and just a little bit of more practice that the students actually enjoyed too. So
Right. The drawing it.
Yep, the drawing it, the labeling,
the process
the
arrows.
explanation, all of that. And again, I was almost dumbfounded at first, thinking that, oh, they got this, this is easy. And then we looked at the water cycle, it's like, oh my goodness. But then when we did it, I think properly, kind of following everything that we've gone over with the circuits, and then it was like, oh my goodness, I have some exemplar work that's better than my exemplar because the students are finally understanding the process, and it's just more meaningful than what I realized the routine we were kind of into.
Well, that's great. That makes me feel good that you thought the PD was useful. My next questions are about the impact of collaboration on your classroom, and actually you just kind of hit those questions. But so with the team though, not just me, how did they influence what you did in the classroom?
Well, I think I kind of enjoyed talking to both third grade and fifth grade and just sort of seeing some of the different ideas that everyone brought to the table, but then also knowing, again, I mean, I hate to always bring it back to like the STAR test, but knowing that like when we teach science in fourth grade, it isn't fully assessed and we don't always know what the assessment's going to look like.
Right.
So to get to talk to you about, you know, how that has to play out in the fifth grade was very helpful. I guess more the vertical alignment.
Yes.
Of seeing like how third grade is doing it, how we have to build upon it, and then how we ultimately need to get it to the mastery level that you need to get them to in order to, you know, prove it on like a standardized assessment.
Yeah. I agree. I think having everybody come together and see even those pre and post test items that were pulled from fifth grade STAR tests, right? And I do think that was kind of a little eye-opening for some. But I think that having everybody see that we all play a part in it, like where are we going with this, and then offering support to each other, was the most fun.
Especially since we ultimately teach the same material, we just kind of teach it at slightly different levels.
Yeah.
So, and again, sadly, I feel like our school has really neglected vertical alignment of science and social studies. Like we tend to focus more just on math and ELA the most.
Right. I enjoyed the perspectives. I enjoyed that too, and I think it's important. That's something we do need to carry with us in the future.
Oh, 100%.
We'll have to just make that a priority in the new campus. And okay, so I guess we kind of covered like what you noticed in student work or understanding. You did notice. You noticed. You could tell if they understood it or not.
Oh, 100%.
And your before and after. How did the students feel about the before and after?
I think they felt a little bit more proud of their work, because one of the things that I think we even touched base on was when you give them a multiple choice question, there's always a chance that they're getting it correct, either out of dumb luck or elimination, but it doesn't fully show that they have a mastery of the concept. But when they actually are drawing it out and labeling it and explaining it and then verbally able to explain their drawing, it just shows so much more of a concrete explanation of the skill. And that was the big eye-opener for me, because there were several kids that when we just did the pre-test and yeah, they did okay on it, or maybe they even passed it, but then we went ahead and did the first drawing activity, they kind of bombed it, which was like, okay, great, so you can pass a multiple choice test, but if it's an open-ended question on kind of the same concept, you really don't have that as a strength. And to me, I don't know, it almost seems like it's way more valuable to have the open-ended with the labels and the drawings and the explanation. Because the other thing is almost like a testing strategy, as opposed to like a true concrete knowledge of the actual skill.
Great, perfect. Well, and that is the point, right? To really be able to see the student thinking they either understand it or they don't. And what they don't understand, you can pick it out pretty quickly.
Which you can with the post test, because it's just multiple choice, and
Yeah, that's true. All right. Unless they are drawing and labeling on that post test, like they did the one with the greenhouse.
That's true.
Where they started like really getting in there and labeling the things that.
And that allowed me to see the misconception of where they were not understanding the test question.
Yeah.
Because again, they were looking at the water on the ground and just explaining it as evaporation, not realizing he was asking about the condensation on the top.
That's right.
So that was eye-opening of just like testing strategies of working on, what is the question actually asking, because they were able to give an explanation in their labels. It just wasn't what the question was